Sorry guys, just fixing up my resolution. Maybe. I don't know for sure, and I know it's not alright. And I don't even care whether you like me or not. Okay. Alright, let's see if the stream is working. Alright. Okay, the stream is live. Okay. Alright. My voice is working. I don't know how the actual gameplay will work, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, for those of you who want to know, this is how it looks. And if you really want to record, the best place to start with OBS, because it's the simplest to use, yet still somehow complicated enough to hurt my brain. Then again, how much really do you need to hurt my brain? I'd go into full screen, but I'm scared. What the hell's going on? My God. Oh, that's right. We're in a bit of an old version. Nope, that's not right. We're in a bit of an old version because okay, this is not normal, but you can't see it. Okay. I think no. Should have installed for shaders. I think this is normal as it gets. Star Labs. Now, for those of you who know anything about some comics, you might know what this means. Yes, that's right. We got mods. Yeah, that's the only reason I'm here. Okay. I turn it on peaceful mode just to get rid of these guys, but I got some shit to show off, and yeah, just let me put these in their respective areas. Hopefully. I swear I already did this. Oh shit, I put it on, didn't I? Let's see. There we go. Miniaturize out of an exosuit. You'll get to see this in a bit. You got a hint at what it does. I'm gonna put all that stuff. No, actually, no, I'm gonna put all this stuff in here. We're gonna need that later. Okay, so I was originally just gonna do some stuff, show you how to make everything, but everything's made pretty much the same way anyway, so let's start off with that. Okay, except for, so the handbook will show, if you ever have any questions or trying to use this mod, you just check the handbook. But, so you need to craft this, okay, so let's start with the book. Items, yes, and so there's the display stand, I got a couple of those. There's a buttload of arrows, but yeah. So they've done a lot of stuff, because there's a buttload of green arrow stuff, you know? Okay, so what we want is the suit fabricator. So what you'll need to make stuff is a suit fabricator. What you need to make that, I have no real idea. Oh, yeah. So there are 5 tiers. Why it's not showing me? So yeah, this is all of the items which you can make. You know what, if you want, you can just check the thing. Actually, right now, I think I should probably... Mojang? Mojang? Why is Mojang up? I opened to land by accident. Here we go. Now I gotta wait. Alright, I broke it. God damn it, not again. Also, if my mic's working properly, you might notice that it's a very good increase in mic quality. Then again, you won't because no one's actually watching right now, I'm gonna guess. But if there is people watching right now, kudos, like, thank you for trying your best to enjoy my odd content. I've actually got a couple of videos, like, just ready to make public. Right now they're just private. They're all Overwatch videos. So if you want Overwatch videos, watch my other Overwatch videos, and I'll make the other videos public. Because at this rate, no one's commenting, so just watch some videos, show that you want to watch something, and then boom, you get more of that something. It's not rocket science. It's how everyone does it these days. You want something, you gotta make me want to give it to you. You know, the usual. So, for some reason, Minecraft Bedrock Edition opened itself. I have no idea why. Okay, the other game was open all the time. That was a waste of time. Fucking hell. So this is Flan's superhero mod. I also have a Jurassic Park mod, a dinosaur mod on as well, but you just ignore that. Just ignore that. There's no dinosaurs roaming here. Oh, what do you mean? What do you mean? Also, I'm playing on 1.7.10, so if you want to turn, here I'll copy this. Control C. So I'll just shove that in the description. Alright. So, okay. Now, assist is is a sack-like pocket. okay, I'm just I can't read that and make the joke. It's gonna just jokingly read that. Also, I've uploaded this video, as you can see. I've also uploaded a bunch of Overwatch videos, as you can see here. You'll get to see them later when I'm not bored to death. Yep, this is safe. No, I would, but I won't. Let's get back to the game. Hopefully, full screen it. Wait. My game gonna go. Okay. Full screen, please. Blocks. Thank you, my comment. I wonder if it actually shows the video. See how Prometheus thought. No, I genuinely thought that you created Deadpool's katanas by just smashing these together. But basically, what you need to make anything in this mod is these two things. Now, you might recognize them once I say the name, but right now they're pretty hard to recognize. Where is it that I've put all my things? Okay, so you got Vibranium and Touch-Read. I'm guessing Touch-Read is for the DC stuff. I don't know if they're like specific for Vibranium. Basically, I think one's from DC and one's from Marvel, but basically you got mixes of DC and Marvel, and right here, for most parts, I just split them into what they do. So this is like fast dudes. This is literally just flash over and over and over again until you get zoom, and that's it. I put the bow dudes down there. Put Iron Man and Captain America here because, well, it's Iron Man and Captain America. Put Deadpool and Metal Man's is here. I'm sorry, I forgot. Hold on, I'm not gonna leave this area until I remember it. Okay, how's that sound? You know what? Yeah. So Deadpool. Where did I leave it? Right, it should be above. So yeah, we got a bunch of stuff, man. We got a bunch of stuff, including ways to hold other things. We've got the size changer dudes. You got Adam and Smasher, and I'm pretty sure Adam Smasher's from DC because This dude's from DC. And of course we got Ant-Man. He's got no evil counterpart. Because, I don't know. Fuck, I haven't read the comics. I mean, I've looked at some of the Deadpool stuff. But, you know, it's dead. And then I got bored of that, just because I was like, I mean, I could group them up into like fire and like pyrokinesis, then this dude. But I decided, you know what, why not? And then I put the tier 5s up here, which it's just 2 different variants of Martian Manhunter. It's not hard to say, surprisingly. So, to start off with, fuck off. Get out. Off. So, for these guys, you'll actually have rings as well. So you can make the armor, and then, so, here, I'll put all this. You know what, it's fine. I'll just leave that there. Demonstration purposes. Basically, they're fast as fuck, and you can turn it off by pressing N is speed, M is where everything is slower. Turn them both on, and you basically, I think, once you're on the ground, you can move it like just above normal speeds. Like it feels like normal, just above normal speeds. You can punch the shit out of zombies. That. But every reaction is a lot slower. Basically, you got time slow, and I'm not even sprinting. I'm not even holding the control key right now. I'm just walking in all speeds. This is running. Also, my incredible spam. And this is just with my bare hands. Now, you'll want to collect a flash ring, and then I guess you make the flash ring somehow. But yeah, once you get the flash ring, I think it might come when you create the suit. So let's test it out here. I actually never tested this out. It's like it's just a theory. Yeah, you know. Okay, let's start with zoom. Yeah, you only get one mask. Okay. Fuck. I didn't even get through all of Zoom's shit, dude. Well. Don't ask me why. Okay. Now, a cool thing you can do. So, I'll get out of the reverse flash costume for now. Also, fun fact, the ring actually goes on whichever hand is dominant. I'll show you in a sec. So I'll pick the rival. I have no idea who this is, but he looks pretty cool, so I'll take it. So, when looking at the ring, so if I go into third person, and yes, I'm using this in it holds like God can. There we go. You see it? And then that one, you've equipped it. Also, you'll notice that the speedster's. Alright. Yeah. Also, in these chests, I basically organize every tier. I mean, I didn't need to, but, you know, it's there. I mean, if I really want to show you all of them, I can search, tier, get this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, oh wait, there's no tier 6, tier 5 is the highest. Also, each of them has special things that you can do by holding shift. So for this one, you see super speed, enhanced reflexes. That's where time seems to slow down. Cellular regeneration, which means I heal fast, and accelerated perception. So that's this. No, this is super speed. This is accelerated perception. And yeah. Also, I'll get to that giant treadmill in a second. Imagine these guys with weapons. Now, these things. I don't know, space things. But basically, you gotta hit on. Okay. I don't increase your speed. Now there's a way to artificially increase it. But yeah, this, if you do it right, this increases your speed. Once you get into a rhythm of things. Yeah, if you keep it going for long enough. Yeah, so to do what you do, you right click first like a step. And then once you get on, it'll start with this blue and orange thing. Kinda like the jump meter on horses. And what you gotta do now is you just gotta press A or D, depending on which one it wants you to press. Or maybe if there's other things I haven't actually gone far with this. And every rank you get up, that makes it so get out. So that makes it so you can go faster. And then you can vroom. And I think you're getting faster. Like for example, I can punch this guy before you even think. Also, I can punch really fast. Also, so you know, the speedster's enhanced speed does not work until unless they're touching the ground. That's something you should really get to know. I wonder how fast I can defeat the wither with this. Okay, you need soul sand. If you can't tell, I'm deliberately trying to sound fast, like I'm talking faster. Aha! Colossus! I totally knew that and did not search it up. Yeah, I'm sorry, Colossus, man, you're funny. He's funny in the movie. I remember the character, I just couldn't remember the name. I remember the guy, I just don't remember the name. Alright, he's being Metal Man after all, that's what I said. I remembered him, I just didn't remember what his name was. You know, I've said that 1,000 times. You should be easy enough to understand. I am so sorry. Wither. Thank you, Minecraft. So what we'll do here is we'll go pretty far from the tower because I spent fucking forever making that thing and I'm not having some wither destroy it. So we'll have boop. Okay. Boop boop boop. Turn off by speed. Holy shit, you have no idea how useful that was. And by the way, I think there might be like more to this. Just oh shit. Also, when I have mods installed, I have to do this. So Minecraft, and then alright. Here we go. Bop, stop. So yeah, what you see here is I fast play. Can I not hit him? Am I unable to attack him properly? Oh my god. Alright, let's go. Come on, fight me. Fight me, bro. 1v1 me, ho. Oh, are you ready? You ready to... Oh, you think you're cool, don't you? Yeah, good luck hitting me with those shoddy shots, eh? Achievement unlocked. Getting wood. This is actually really cool. I just thought of this on the spot and I am so glad. Oh, with us, you're like gonna be the test subject everyone's gonna test it out on. Shit, except not everyone, because, well, not everyone can do sick dance moves like this dude. No, I think I'm gonna have to make a bow. Come on, pussy, come down here and fight me. Also, these generally have a lot of armor. Alright, if you ever want to see Flash and friends just shoot bows at things. Okay, I've let myself be a bit too cocky. You know why. Don't joke around. You know exactly why I did that. Alright. I got a bone to pick with you. Okay. I should probably not be spending too long with this, because oh my fucking god, you gotta see all the arrows the fucking, the archer dude's got, dude. Their power is literally archery. I mean, can you believe it? Also, Batman has powers in this. Don't worry, I'll get to that in a bit. You'll see what I mean. Because it's not powers in the traditional sense. Okay. Arrows, do what you're told. God's sakes. Okay. CP! No! Alright. You want me to bolt, kid? I'll bolt. Alright, he's gonna come to me, so I might as well wait for him. Alright, whilst he's busy over there, I'm gonna just switch into another piece of armor. Because, Jesus Christ. Okay, now you've seen what the rival and such like can do. I think it's only fair we go into the next one. Okay. How will we get up there? I'm gonna need to make a ladder. I'm gonna try and do this all in survival. Well, except for a little. Nine, 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 gonna get copy striked if I keep this up. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Next, we got these dudes. So you get the compound bow somehow. Also, this guy, Prometheus, has his own sword, which is crafted by grabbing the handle and the blade, and then you get to do. Alright. Okay, so we've got triple arrows. We've got a bow. Compound. Anvil. I don't know if these can be actually enchanted, but whatever. Alright, so I'll try my best, but here we go. Alright. Compound. Compound PP. Shit. Okay. That way, you know, I don't waste all of the stuff. Alright, so we'll start with... So we'll start with the one with the most powers. So I could use all of these, but I'm probably going to end up using Prometheus. Yep, I'm using Prometheus. I knew it. Alright, so that means I'm going to have to get the sword too. So just... Okay, so just put that in there. Oh god, I need some health. Let's see, where is... Ah, here we go. Hell yeah. Okay, so the handle is crafted by putting a katana blade and a handle in one thing. I don't know how exactly you make Deadpool's blade, but you know, whatever. With this, I have 6.9. Compound PP, also known as a compound bow. They just named terribly. You need to combine with a quiver. So yeah, yes, you can see that is the Prometheus sword is one of those weapons that actually shows up like a block in the thing, but you cannot place it as far as I know. But it does block. It does block. So I guess that counts. You've got two types of quivers. There's the automatic quiver, which I'll be focusing on. So I guess I'll put the regular quiver away. See, I can't remember exactly how you crafted the automatic quiver. Yeah, it just takes any arrows you have in your inventory. Oh, that's right. You throw shurikens. Okay. We've got a lot of arrows here, by the way. One of each, so... Get ready. I'm gonna fire every single one of that motherfucking dinosaur. Including the health ones. Apparently not yet, of course. Alright, let's go. Alright. You're an asshole. Alright, so if you go... One of these, generation. Wait, no, I got... I was drank poison, not regeneration. I feel like such an idiot. Fuck. Ah, fuck. Drink. Good boy. Die. I'm the superior. This looks like... regen. Yes. Thank you, almighty Jeb. It seems like a lot of these revert to like the normal stage. Alright, what vile arrow is this? Okay, so vile arrow with no effects. So you got a boxing glove arrow, which is I guess comedic. Up shit. Zombies chasing me. I could take him out easily. I mean, nothing wrong, but you know I don't need to. So it's better. I can add the pufferfish, explosive, triple arrow. Come on, give me what I want. Honestly, and of course carrot arrow. Because if it wasn't the arrow guys, you wouldn't have memes. So be thankful. Oh shit, I want to save this one. Okay, triple arrow, carrot arrow. Oh, it gives them night vision. I can't remember exactly how you switch it, so. N was like, I guess, more accurate, I guess. Puffer fish. That didn't work. Explosive puffer fish. Wait, what? That actually exploded? Shit. Cactus! I see, I see. What the fuck did that cactus land? Now, there are of course so many that I guess. Strength, yep. That should do. Don't want to give them strength because that makes me easy to kill. I still don't think we're ready to fight with it though. Oh, fuck, I need food. Yo, fuck off. Sweet. Oh, fuck, I did it again. Poison. No armor can protect me from poison. I've got some of these and some of these. Okay. So what I want to do okay, so I want firework, right? Visibility, instant health. Right. Okay, vile arrows is not what I want there. All I want there is instant health. As much as possible, please. If you would. Alright, that's pig's dead. Alright. Piglet. I'm sorry, but it must be done. Also, so you should know, these arrows are much more powerful than your average ammo arrow. But that doesn't not make regular arrows less viable, because for this I'm pretty sure you need iron and a lot of other materials to get. Yo, bitch. That's right, you. Bitch. You, bitch. Oh, wait. I'm nearly dead. Haha, but I have keep inventory on. Ha! You have been outsmarted. Okay. Yeah, there's vile armors and then there's, you know, all these special puffer fish, exploding puffer fish, which I think do not have griefing. So that means, unlike creepers, they do not explode like normal TNT. They just, you know, explode. The damage of the splash damage should. The smoke arrows. You're a vile creature. A vile creature, I say. Actually, I can deflect your bullets. No, I can't. Shit, I feel like I was playing by myself. Big rip, dude. Alright, that's enough arrow shooting. No, wait, I've still got some more arrows to shoot. As long as I don't drop that. Okay. Got foil arrow, grappling hook arrow, and done. Vile arrow? I'm going to save the grappling hook arrow for later. Right now I want to try out the boxing glove. So I'll try it on something else. Ah! Haha, Wither. You thought you had escaped me. Haha, but you were wrong. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Bitch, I'm gonna blitz you. Oh, explosive. Right, that was a waste of time. And now I'm out of arrows. Bon voyage, my friends. Bon voyage. Okay, bow and arrow, not powerful enough. I need more strength, more power. I think I know who can do it. I did not with it, right? What are you talking about? I swear this wasn't planned. It just happened and I'm like, yeah. Hey, do I want... Okay, how did I put it in the first time? Fuck. Alright, so they can't put it in there for some reason. Oh, right. What is this? Okay, something for some reason has broken these boys and they don't work anymore. But, yeah. So that was... Oh shit, I didn't even test out the throwing stars. Oh my god, what an idiot. Alright, come here with her. Time for you. Wait. I don't need no stinking sword. I got shurikens. Where the fuck is he shooting? Pig! No! Piggy! Piglets! No! Hey, you leave both. Oh, yeah, I did tell you about the dinosaurs, right? Yo, bitch! Yo, bitch! That did not do much damage. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Why did I do it again? Swimming! Oh, that's right, I'm not in that update yet. Come back here, bitch. Come on, you're scared. You're scared, boy. You're scared. You're scared. Just wait till you face Batman. Oh, boy, you're not gonna like that. But first, we must get the Captain America and Iron Man. Who I will start with Iron Man. As you can see, these guys are badasses. Hence why I've kind of sort of, you know, given them their own universe of death and destruction. No, nothing special. I mean, it's not a universe, it's like a pedestal. So, I guess I'm not lying to you. Wait, I still have someone to put away. Sorry, Prometheus. You can't come. You're back, I'm pretty sure. I think. Is this the Prometheus from that one movie I know of? Maybe. There are some that have armor bars that go above the limit. Let's check out how much you guys are liking this video. As in, like, watching the video. Holy shit, the viewers went up by 1. What is this madness? Who are they watching? Mustn't be me, because no one ever watches me. Oh my god! A video from a mate. I don't even know what he is. He must be an idiot. So shall we start with Iron Man, Captain America? I'm gonna start with Captain America because he's a lower tier, surprisingly. I mean, his real power is his shield, dude. I mean, he's got big old enhanced reflexes, so he's like, yeah, I'm gonna punch the shit out of you. And I'm gonna use my shield for it with it. I can't remember. One of these buttons was like really powerful. Throw and stuff. It's like, alright. Oh, that's right. It does that. I forgot that. Yeah. So if you crouch and then throw your mighty shield, if you crouch and then click, Captain America throws his mighty shield. I can't remember the song, okay? I've never actually listened to the song. So it's like, shit, where'd my shield go? Shit. Yo, bitch. Okay. 9% damage reduction. That's good enough for me. Jurassic Park goes on our way. Yo, bitch. He's trying to attack the dinosaur. What a fool. I don't think even I can attack the dinosaur. I think it's just in its own little world, like, yeah, what's your problem, mate? You got a problem, bruh? Fucking hell, the dinosaur just does not give a fuck. Does he? Where's my shield? Just in case, you know. No particular reason. Okay, where did you go? Vile creature. Ha! What's that bitch? Also, so you know, I'm playing on 1.7.10. The 1.8 version might be slightly different. But did you know that there's something that functions like an Elytra here? I think I just pissed them off, to be honest. Also, there must be a cooldown on it, because I get those shields like randomly. Like, Vibranium or not, it's not powerful enough. You need this with a bunch of discs. See, if you lose this thing, you just gotta create another one, right? Yeah, well, Vibranium discs are hard. Captain America! No! My friend! Why are you always above me? Kinda rude. Don't you know to be right next to your opponent, not above them? Holy shit, I'm not fasted. Oh. Aha, I have hunger drug. Yikes. Piggies. Give me food. That's right, this is 5 attack damage. Shield. The spider sacrificed itself. Oh my god. Did you guys see that? Oh, that is comedy gold right there. Oh god, I was saved by a fucking spider. What is this madness? Alright, there must be a method. You're not like your friend. You're mean. So you're gonna need some of these. I don't remember how many. Don't worry about the Endmen down there. Yes, hello to you too. Yeah, I can do that. Hey, Wither, where the fuck did you go? Puss. America shows his mighty shield. Yeah, also, Captain America is the only one who can block with the shield. Forgot to mention that earlier because it just didn't seem important to me. That's odd. Why can't, you know, oh. How did you fucking shoot him up? What pulses did? A sky high battle, who would have thought? Punch that bitch in the face. Hell yeah. And I'm dead. Wow, not even fucking Captain America could take him out. Let's try Deadpool. Deadpool's unkillable, right? Surely his cellular regeneration should be powerful enough to take on the Wither, right? Right? I don't see fucking him. Yeah, healing factor. That should be easy. Fuck, I don't have the katana on me. God damn it. Oh, thank God I put it in here. Oh god. If I didn't, I don't know what I'd do. Let's fucking murder this bitch. Okay, healing factor. Work, please. Please? Please? Okay. So far, not looking too promising. Deadpool's already died once. Also, most of the buttons are N, B, and M. I don't know if there's any others. Oh my god, why is everything out to kill me? God damn it. Fuck's sakes. Fucking skeletons. Yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and take a wild guess. Like, Deadpool's not gonna be enough to defeat these guys. The with Deadpool should be able to defeat the Wither. I guess you know who doesn't exactly fight Minecraft characters. So hold on. Weapons should be active. Should they be behind him? Should he have it equipped or not equipped? I don't know, I think it looks cool like that, but you know, I've been wrong before. Oh yeah. Hoop boom. Colossus's thing is that he's big boom. They're hitting each other. Holy fuck. Holy shit, there's a lot of arrows flying about. Oh, boom, boom, boom. Okay. The fucking arrows are bouncing off me. Minus 90. Punch to death. But he's not very fast, so. But he might be what we need thanks, I guess, but... Alright, Jurassic Park. What's your next move? Bite me, bitch. Not having you explode on me again. Where are they coming from? Are they above me again? Oh my god, he's actually below me this time. Wow, he does not like pigs. Super fast punch. Yeah. Alright. That's not good. I'm withering away. No! Mr. Stark! Aha! Nope. That did not work. I thought maybe the wither effect would be counteracted by this dude, but I guess not. All hope is lost. I guess. Okay. Colossus couldn't defeat him. Deadpool couldn't defeat him. But I think our next group of heroes should take the cake. Not really, but you know. They'll certainly be harder to hit, and eventually they won't be able to be hit. Damn it, I should have known. Colossus is too fucking fat. I'm not meaning to fat shame him, of course. God, no. Look at this dude. It's fucking huge. I don't want to fat shame him. Oh shit. T-Rex is on the move. Hell to the yay. I'm sorry I went game mode. Yes. There we go. Okay. I think I'll start off with you. I can't remember how. Okay, so got N, which shrinks him. And then I can't remember which one makes him big again. Yeah, one of these things. And eventually it'll work. Maybe. Propelled flight. That's right, he can fly. I forgot. Jurassic Park, get on the move, again, please, if you will so kindly. Yeah, unless you want to go to the space dimension, you don't want that meter to reach 0. Okay, at first I thought these armors would be, you know, OP and stuff, but now I see the truth. Most of them can't really defeat the Wither, so why would they be able to defeat anything else? Oh my god, to think I was expecting I'd be able to go to the end and, you know, fight the Ender Dragon and stuff with just fucking, the Flash. Alright. I think I should probably show you that thing I was talking about, the thing that I don't think you should experience with regular things. Oh yeah, right, the Spinosaurus they put over here. Hey, buddy. You're my friend, right? I think I made you from the baby stage, so you're my friend. I pretty much babysat this thing all year. Well, not all year. I haven't been working on this video for a year. This mode thing though, this has been on for more than a year. That's for fucking sure. This was the thing I accidentally put lava down, and well, silly me. I have to use water to put it out, but the lava got everywhere. So, oh shit. But yeah, we got that place. It's pretty intense. You're gonna need this suit. Of all the suits, you're gonna need this suit. I might want to show you the other guy still as well, because he can make himself bigger as well. I don't know if he actually can make himself smaller, but yeah, he makes himself as big as he needs to be, which is quite big, as you can see. Sorry, I had to take a pee. I think I'm gonna give myself golden apples. So to show you, I'm a fucking big boy now. Oh, Wither, you think you have the power to defeat me, huh? Well, I got the power. Bitch. Hahaha. I got the power. Wither, you will be in problem for not much longer, my friend. My old friend. Where'd you go? There'd you go. Hey, bitch! Think you're powerful, do you? Big as I want, dude. Hell yeah, bitch. Whoo! Now, I think... I think he's done. Just took the Atom Smasher, the big boy who can't fly above, who'd have thought, with a fuck ton of health, and the magic of friendship or something, I don't know. What, do you think I'm a story time tuber? What? I can't do that. That's mean. Towards Felix. Yes! Now let's see how much I can increase my health. Alright, I think that's as much as it wants to go. Alright, good to know. Physically able to fit through there. Alright. Alright, so size automatically equals health, apparently. Okay, now we get to the fun ones. Okay, this guy is pretty fun. Now, I learned my lesson. It's not Allier here in the background. Honestly, it doesn't look much different than my actual head, because as you can see, I do thorns damage, I think. Why do I not attack anymore? What did I do? Perhaps I need to get some cacti. Huh. Where did I find some cacti? Oh. Alright. Hear me out. I think that I need cactus. Hold up, what? That's cool. That's really cool. Okay, so you're gonna heal from touching cactus. Cacti. Hold on, is that Crabrave I hear, Ray? I'm gonna get copyright supplat. Super what the fuck? Alright. Alright, my friend. Now. Alright, where's the Starlight metahuman log? Yeah? Yes? Alright, what is this game not telling me? Alright, to the wiki. I knew there was something about Spider-Man. I knew it! Alright. I knew there were more. I knew it. Now, let's find out what to do. Alright, so as you can see, Yeah, tier 1. They're stronger than diamond armor. They're strong. They get their own armor rating. Yeah. It's powerful. Now, full screen on. Now, for some reason, I can't cactus anymore. Wait, I think I know what I need. But I'm gonna have to kill someone for it. Aha, you think you can just walk onto my turf. You're gonna have to go kill potatoes soon. Wait, I know. I'm gonna just eat my fucking golden apple. Maybe. I thought that would be enough, but I guess not. Hey, you get back on my cactus farm. Dumbass creeper sacrificing himself to try and kill the cactus man. You know, when I first heard about this, I thought it was a joke. Oh, fuck. You asshole. Absolute fucking asshole. Come here. Come on. I don't want to kill you now. At least all the vibranium stuff survived. Shit. I spent forever making this thing, and I did not want a fucking creeper to come over and claim it as his own turf. Damn it. Damn it all. Bitch, go away. No one wants you. Don't fucking dare. They're ruining my whole thing. What a bunch of assholes. Well, that's just rude. Bitch ass. Destroy my shit. Now, they destroyed some stuff, but it's nothing we can't recover from. It's not like I need to do anything with it anyway. Now we can hold that on hand. Or I could, no, I can't. Okay. I gotta fix some of it at least. Big sad moment, and press F in the chat, please. F. Press F for the chests. F for everything. Black Panther, it's time for your turn. No, it's not actually. Most of these guys are pretty unamusing powers. Let's go to Geokinesis. Let's see what this guy can do. He doesn't do much. Big surprise there. Why do I not have the ability to, you know, whatever. Okay, Geokinesis, fucking useless. Let's see, Rip Hunter doesn't do much actually. Oh, that's a big F in the chat, boys. Can I get an F in the fucking chat, boys? Yes, please. F to pay respects. Press F. Everyone, please. Do it for the building. Press F for the building, man. Do it. Go into the comments. Just press F. Press F. It's time for Chronos. Okay, I'm being a bit too dramatic, but no, I'm not being too dramatic. Let's keep this joke going. It's no joke. My blaze is destroyed. I can't understand. I can't let this stand, my friends. You must destroy all the creepers. I worked so goddamn hard on this. I'm not allowed to about to fucking let my work go to waste. Why I go to son? I don't fucking know, bro. So let's fuck them up. We're gonna need a flash ring. We're gonna kill some fucking creepers, dude. And it's gonna be epic. And I'm gonna cry. Because they destroyed all my shit. Where's my Chronos fucking gear? You can't take it back, Ryan. Fucking moron. Ryan, you can't just take it back. You give up, you give up. Yeah? Okay, that ends. Okay, just let me end the stream. Fuck sakes. Coming! I'm coming! Good early success. Did I forget to stop the stream? Well, I mean, I could continue. Oh shit. I didn't even realize. I thought it stopped streaming for sure already. Oh, thank God. It works. Alright. Now I know for sure it works. That's full screen this bitch. Alright, now. Back to wherever I was. That's right. My poor area. My poor home of death and destruction. It's being destroyed. I mean, I could fix it easily. Not slash game mode C. Oh, that survived. That was dramatic, dude. Fortunately, I have to delete everything. Oh shit, I deleted Kronos's yeah. I get to the ammunition later. Yeah, also you craft him into things. I'm so fucking annoyed, dude. I spent so long working on this, and one creeper comes in and destroys most of it. What the fuck, dude? Don't you have any taste for art? I mean, I'm joking, obviously. I call this art. Jesus Louise, dude. What do you take me for, fucking bitch? Anyway. Back on track, my friends. Kronos is nowhere to be seen. Never mind. So yeah, on the... Well, thanks a lot, Mr. Kronos' rifle. If you couldn't tell, this belongs to him, but yeah. In the armor stand, it looks pretty decent. I don't tell the truth. So Kronos has no powers, but he does have a Kronos rifle, which I think is powered by something. I don't know what, subatomic charge, unlikely, but I mean there's a rifle base, so I guess. Oh yeah, there's a tachyon device, which I don't know exactly what it does. I'll figure that out later. But alright, Kronos rifle. Alright, where's the star? Oh, very funny. Oh yeah, so you got vibranium. Oh yeah, cosmic treadmill. No. We also get ice layers, frosted ice, which you'll see more of in a bit. I swear there was more Batman stuff. Ah, there it is. Star Labs Metahuman Law. Dr. Phil. Dr. Phil. Fisk A. Phil. Dr. Phil. Dr. Phil. Oh my god. After all that time of trying and stuff, I thought I cancelled the stream. But it would appear I had not. And I'm just a fucking moron. Alright. Hey, it's okay, you're welcome. You're welcome, you're welcome. Welcome to thinking. Kid, honestly, I yawn, and I can explain every natural phenomenon. Just messing around. I'm paranoid as cat. So what does it take away? Don't listen behind when he's in the break away. I don't know why I'm singing. I just am. Kronos. Okay, so we've got this cog. Fucking brilliant. Why on earth I can't use this fucking thing is beyond me. I have no idea how this rifle works, but it looks cool, so I guess that's a bonus. Put away all this stuff. Okay, Batman's pretty cool. If you didn't know already. I'm gonna save and quit to dial, reload the game, because it seems all of my abilities and stuff stopped working for a brief period of time. No, I gotta fix that. And it's still not working. Ah, it's back to working. I don't want to show them that yet. Alright, now I should be able to fire. Maybe? Nope. No. So we've got Captain Cold, which frankly I don't understand. But I think this stuff goes away after a while. Maybe. Nice. far as they look, they're identical. But they don't have that same transparency, apparently. Alright, that's gonna stay there for now. Oh yeah, so here's some dinosaur things. I'm gonna grab a big boy egg. How about an Ankylosaurus? Yup. I'll figure out how to put these things there. Alright, I'm gonna leave that guy to grow. Ooh, I need a torch for that too. Torch, dumbass. Shut up. Okay, so Kronos. Trapped in cold. Oh, it's got a cold resistance because we're gonna need that. Yep, definitely gonna need that. It looks cooler outside, okay? Oh, I feel bad now. I'm sorry. Sorry, Jara. I'm so sorry, comrade. I dearly am. Gee. I feel bad. I feel As you may know, we're reaching the end of our wooden tower of death. We're gonna need some cool ass shit for this. Oh yeah, that's right. I got a little thing to show you. So yeah, at the top, I think you've already glanced at it, but we're gonna mess around with Martian Manhunter. Martian Hunter. Oh, yeah, this is tier 5. Look left and right. I mean, it works from either way, except for this way. But if you're facing it, that was a weird ass joke. I don't know why I made it. But here's Martian Manhunter in both of his forms. I think this is Justice League, and so you've got just plain old Martian Manhunter. We got comics Martian Manhunter. So yeah. Anyway, this one you're gonna want to see from the back. Kick time, bitch. Yeah, they basically took the Elytra and put in 1.7.10, like a whole generation before it was even properly introduced. Although then again, I think it's a whole generation. But yeah, it's also an 8.10, 1.8.10, I think, or 1.8. Forge. If you want to figure out how to make this work, you can find a fucking tutorial yourself. I'm not making a tutorial for anything. But yeah, now I've got Batman on my prowess. Boom, cape time. Hat off. Oh shit, the cape comes with the. That is ingenious. He also has ice bombs, which cover everything in ice, which are pretty dang dope. We got smoke bombs, so into the mist we go. Yeet! And of course, we got the batarang. Bang, pow, pow. Bang pow pow. Bang pow pow. I sound like an idiot. Oh shit. Who's done it again? But yes, I have yeah, Cactus Man broke my game for a bit, and I couldn't defend my house against the crappers. Alright. Next up on the list is Black Canary, turning me into a girl. Before, it looks like it's just normal, but once you put the whole set on, it's about to get really. Whew! That's some loud screaming here. Like, I guess I can't hear it. I'm surprised I can survive that fall, to be honest with you. I regen fasted. I guess regen for big boys, like the health, the superpower life regen, or not, molecular regen. It's like, I guess, Deadpool, dude. Yeah, that just proves that he knows that Spider-Man exists. Obviously, everyone knows Spider-Man fucking exists. Scream. Squawk. Squawk. I know it's not actually activated by voice, though it would be funny if it was. Squawk. Squawk. Scream. Wow, my scree is super powerful. So powerful it kills things. And I can do it whilst holding food. Scree. And I don't even need to scree to do it. Canary scream. Scree! Yo, I need to turn on fucking peaceful. Scree! I think I'm gonna have to wrap this up. Basically, no one's getting close to me because I got the canary cry on my side. I'm gonna take a break from streaming for again for Din Dins, so don't expect me to come back soon. Might be a while. And then after I'm done, I'm gonna watch a movie. Yes, Mom? Yeah? Got it. I'm gonna turn to peaceful again just because I'm fucking sick and tired of creepers blowing up my shit. I'm gonna make my house is like nice and warm. Hey, Dad.
Your mum's asked you to set the table?
Yep. I just gotta. I'm coming in a second. Okay, for now you guys just look at these two. A hint of what's to come. Coming, Mom. I'm back. And still recording, streaming. Whatever you want to call it. Did it go up? Nope. No, it did not. What in tarnation is going on here? What in tarnation? Oh shit, that means my dinosaurs are alive. My dinosaur hatched a while ago. Oh my god, Ichthyosaurus, it looks so cute! Ah, he's adorable! I'm gonna name him Steve, and he's gonna be my boy, and this is gonna be a good old time. Okay, name. No, okay. Steve. Because as you may... So this is Steve 1. Where is he? Hello, Stevie boy. What's up, Stevie boy? Oh, he's so cute. Oh, what are you doing? What are you doing, Steve? You guarding the place. Oh, I love it. He's so adorable. I'm gonna make a fence. I don't want you to die. Whoa. Yo, Steve, what are you doing? My boy. Oh no! Please get inside. Please get inside. Oh god. Oh no! Oh, thank God. He survived. Holy shit, Steve. Where the fuck are you going? You are an absolute dumbass. You think that's a good idea. Please stop running. Please. I don't want you to die. I don't want you to die, buddy. You're adorable. I don't want you to die. I'm gonna make your pen bigger, okay? This is gonna be what's left of your new pen. Well, that's gonna be what's left of your fucking I can't read, apparently. Something tells me you're gonna be one of those dinosaurs that love to jump above things. At the end of the stream, this one's just gonna be like, yeah, we exist for a reason, don't you know? Don't you know? He has plenty of moving space. Don't you, Steve-o, boy? Oh, Steve, don't be shy. You're a herbivore. Sorry I'm getting so easily distracted by this, but Steve boy needs my attention. Also, look at this. It's a wee little Enderman. Yeah. I guess the Enderman doesn't look as good as it could. Oh well. That's like a bird thing, I guess. Oh, volute. Oh, what's this do? Oh, I like that. I like that. Ooh, you can place that thing in there. It's cool. And Fiora. Steve! Okay. Next, I'm gonna need a fern seed. Don't worry, buddy. Titanus egg. Kellepin egg. Phosphorus egg. I don't know if I know what these things are. Oh, these are eggs that you throw. Oh. Titanus egg. These birds are dumbasses. It's raining eggs now. Is that a golden dodo? Oh my god, I love it. Come on. Come on. This is my friend now. No, aren't you just the cutest little boy? The dodos are just so fucking cute. Okay, what was it? Fence. Who's a good boy? You're a good boy. Steve won. Good boy. Oh my god. Such a good boy. Alright, where's my Dinosaurpedia? Dinopedia, dude. Yeah, there it is. My dinosaur Wikipedia page. Save and quit. Reload it. Dinosaurs. You know, if you want me to do more on dinosaurs other than just little Steve over here, like the video, I guess. But Steve eats the grassy leafy dudes. But I like how Steve likes to eat the Steve dudes. I'll let you go, buddy. Don't worry. Here we go. 1 day old. Food. His hunger is not the best, but order with a stick. Oh my god. Stick. 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 Buddy, you like stick? No. Stay. I'm gonna set up a feeder. Feeders do not like, I think so. if it grows, you... Aw, don't worry, Steve. I'm gonna give you plenty of apples. Or whatever the hell you want. Okay. Apple red. I'm gonna get a lot of bread, dude. Bread. Aw, Steve, my boy, you're never gonna get hungry. You're never gonna go hungry, boy. I might as well check my Nanopedia for what's your name gonna be? You're not him. No. What's your name gonna be? Dodo. No, he's so cute. What did you guys think I forgot I was a superhero? Superhero. Well, actually, that canary isn't a superhero, is she? Might as well be. Scree! Wow, my Ree is so powerful it breaks the sound barrier. Now, I want to show you Falcon's abilities because he's pretty dang dope. Now, he only got glided flight, but that's still pretty cool. He's basically got an elytra that you can power up by just pressing the forward button. It's a powered elytra basically, and I think that's fucking dope. And they should add that as an actual game mechanic. Cause oh my god, I mean you could use fireworks. No, this is like just constant fireworks. If you just wanna like press the speed button, and you can cancel it instantly. Like as in. Oh shit, that's right. I can't remember though, does it have sideways damage? No, okay. Well, I'm a dumbass. But you already knew this. And they kill a frost. She's got cryokinesis and a heat weakness. So now, I'm a walking ice sculpture. Hello, Steve. I'm not going to test out my powers on you, of course. God forbid. Cross my arms. No, you're going to die, though. You know that, right? what you get for standing up. For full power. Ugh. Twitch broadcasting. I tried to set that up. It's funny how it just turns me icy. What does this do in the water, you might ask? I have no idea. It's funny that both of these have their own books and stuff, but whatever. Cryokinesis allows the player to shoot icicles from their hands. The player can also build up a cryo charge, allowing more icicles to shoot from the hand at once. The higher the charge, the more power the attack has. Ooh, yes. Thank you. So yeah, that basically turns me into a living, breathing shotgun of ice. I think every noise it makes. Bird, die. There's only one bird allowed to live here. And that's my boy. Carlos over here. As you just the cutest, I'm gonna name you Carlos. And you're not gonna die from this fucking anvil falling right next to you. That's why I placed it. Carlos. Press F, massive respect. Get named boyo. Alright, I think that's enough fun with these guys. Now it's to move on to the next one. So we'll do fire one and then we'll stop with them. There's like heat wave. There's two different firestorms which for some reason do not have helmets. Which I think this is weird. But firestorm has propelled flight and everything. I don't know if he's immune to fall damage. So you might want to use that flight to your advantage if you start falling. So yeah, Heatwave just has heat resistance. Firestorm, on the other hand, has propelled flight. They're both the same, it's just, you know, they're different versions of Firestorm, dude. It's rocket science. Oh yeah, he's got this as well. Should use this to defeat the with the. Okay. Summon with the. Where'd he go? Bitch. don't. No wonder it didn't work. I think Jackson can take him. No sky high battle, eh? Just can't get enough of them, can you, Mr. Wither? He just spazzed out when I hit him. It's gonna be easiest to do this with tier 5 Mr. Manhunter. Mr. Martian Manhunter. Okay, yeah, we're gonna take him out very quickly. Alright, now, before it is, I must rate this thing apparently. That's what the internet has told me these days. I have to rate my mod, and for this mod I rated 2 Martian Manhunters out of 10. Get it? Because there's 2 Martian Manhunters and they're both tier 5, and tier 5 is like... Okay. Intangibility. Ha ha ha. You get to walk through fucking walls. Ah, felt that fun. Oh, but it does make you nauseous after some time. Just going through walls is like a bit sickening, you know? So, you know, they made it a bit sickening. I got heat vision, which, oh my god, it can make the universe glass. Ooh. Real fucking clever, guys. Oh, it turns me into it's Steve. Does it actually transform? No, it's just Steve. Wait. Ah! I did it. I did it. So yeah, now I can go back to normal, right? It's my normal skin, right? No. I fucked up my own name, didn't I? Okay, let's see how strong Martian Manhunter is. Ooh, this is gonna be fun. And you know what, just for fun, let's yeet a cultivated dodo egg. Hey, how about let's give Steve a brother first before I, you know, fight on the universe. At my own accords. Steve, you got a brother now. Better look after him. Well, we're going to have a brother when I'm done. Oh shit. Ah. I'm scared to break it. Gonna have to grab it like a sword or something. Okay, let's get myself a weapon. Alright, where are you, bitch? Okay, let's get a flash ring, maybe? No, I'm gonna get the trajectory flash ring just in case I need it. Here we go. These guys are literally the worst you can get. I mean, yeah, he's got archery, but let's get something like good, perhaps. Like seriously, come on. So yeah, if I wanted to, I could be Sandy. Also, Kronos, your rifle sucks. It doesn't do anything. I mean, maybe I'm just using it wrong, but I doubt it. Because I never use anything wrong. America throws his mighty shield. Captain America. Captain America throws his mighty shield. Yo. You okay, Dino? Ah, this is good. This is good. Alex. Oh shit, dog. I can't say dog. I'm too white. Let's see, T-Rex. Nope, no one named T-Rex. Captain America. Let me just look at him, dude. I don't know how it gives me 5 attack damage, but whatever. Ah, found you. What are you doing over here, Spiny? What are you doing? You dumbass. What are you doing? Oh, shit. Oh, shit. Dog. wither. Come here. Whether you like it or not, you're going to die. Well, that's not fair. He just knocks me down every time. What are you fighting that's killing you? You're fighting an enemy. What an asshole. Well, those are some big birds. It's a kill. Okay. As per usual, we need something else to defeat. Bitch. No, you don't. Fuck off. Cactus, Black Panther. Oh, that's a really it's good. That's a good one, but Black Panther. I shall defeat my enemies. Starting with Dodo here. Oh, that's gonna be good. Alright, let's take out Mr. Not So Nice Guy, huh? Hey, get away from my house. You know what? I think there's only one option for defeating you, and that is Flash and his buddy. Ha! Can't kill me if you can't touch me. Ha, bitch. Imagine if this. No. I don't have a sword, but I have a shield. I'm gonna well damn use it. Bounce. Bounce. Dumbass. Dummy ass bitch. Got him. Yo, you stay away from my house. I spent hours working on that, and I'm not even joking. Now, next time, I'm gonna battle you in close quarters. Like, as in, I don't know, an obsidian place. Where else, like, impossible to get, so, you know. Just give the universe a piece of hope. How fast is the attack, dude? No. Jesus Christ, shoot the button. Did that. Holy shit, dude. You need superhuman fucking reflexes if you want to win against this dude. Also, apparently trajectory a lady. Apparently, I don't know. Maybe I'm just reading too much into this. No, my tree. I'm gonna use that to jump up and hit you. God damn it. Fuck you. No, I'm not even gonna play around. I'm done playing around with you. Oh, now I'm on fire. Luckily, eating apples makes it so I'm immune to fire, right? Go beat someone else up. Thank you. Alright, I'm gonna need a bow for this. Hopefully it works with just a regular person. I think it does, but we'll have to wait and see. Alright. Buddy. I think it's time you grabbed an arrow. But which one? Oh wait, I think I still have one in this boy right here. Shit. So much for that plan. Yeah? Coming! family is idiots, but that's fine. I love them anyway. Let's check the chat, dude. No one's watching. Figures. It'd be weird if everyone was watching me. Like, honestly. Sorry I've left you guys so many times, dude. Not that anyone cares, because no one's watching. Ain't leaving. You're a bum bum. But it's alright. I wonder what happens if I use a lot of these. Definitely a lot of these. I mean, I should probably use some, yep, vibranium tipped arrows. Very nice, very nice. I'm gonna just shoot that over there. Oh my goodness, Steve. You have a cousin. No. Look at you. Steve, you're all grown up. I'm so proud. I'm proud father. I mean, I didn't know. You know, I'm a proud father. Whew. Your hard work, dude. So why they don't like the Yankees or shit? Whatever. Nighttime, daytime, nighttime, daytime. Oh shit! Now break your down. Overgrown war total. Table of contents, archery, automatic quiver. trick arrows. Ooh. Oh, so it's a regular. Okay, so this is where you can learn some recipes. Okay, nothing on them anymore, so it's pretty cool, I guess. Trick arrow with a potion attached to it, a chip. Okay. F to I'm loving this. Lavish. And a lavish lifestyle. I must have. Hey. Don't look so down. Yes. Okay, now I'm fully ready to fight him. Oh, speak of the devil, and he shall appear. Ho ho ho. You thought. No, I'm not gonna make that joke. Get over here, bitch. Lasagna, bitch. Lasagna. T-Series ain't nothing but a bitch. Lasagna. This is fun. Phantom arrow. What does this do? Does this go through walls? No, but what does it do? I wonder. Seriously, what the fuck could this possibly do? Yo, where'd the wither go? Yo, it better not be destroying my fucking friends. Get it? I don't have friends. I'm at my house. Maybe I just was too fast for him. Alright, let's see what this does on them. I don't know. It seems to be more powerful just to punch the thing. Yo! You wanna fight, bro? You wanna fight? You wanna fight me, bro? Bruh. 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 Yeah. Well, we're gonna go watch a movie. Yes, Mom? Okay. Well, I'm gonna go watch Kingsman now, so I hope you enjoyed this drawn out video. Certainly past the 20-minute mark. I mean 10-minute mark, sorry. No! Carlos! Buddy! What did they do? I need to get revenge. It's time for absolute death to approach this being. You've destroyed my friend. How could you? This is mutiny. Not that you were really on my side anyway. Think you can just run away after destroying Carlos? No, you're not healing. You're gonna die. You're gonna die for what you've done. You're gonna die for the crimes committed. Your crimes against Carlos. How could you? I will burn your soul. What's left of it? Yeah, I was just finishing the video. Carlos, my buddy, my pal, my friend Rooney. There's only one way to truly honor you, and that was a sign dedicating your honor. Carlos. This is a good num. Rest in peace, Carlos. Another F in the chat, boys. Another F in the chat. I'm sorry. I didn't notice. Please forgive me, Steve. I'm sorry. I didn't know. How could I be so blind to see that? Carlos is dead. Carlos is dead. Carlos is dead. Onwards and upwards, my comrades. Okay. That's cool. We got Spider-Man arrows. Grappling hooks. 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 Imagine a bowman with yes. They're my friends. Okay, so they despawn after over time. Okay. Good to know. Good to know. Oh my god. That's funny. Oh. I should have known. Well. Creepers can't spawn here, so. In the name of Carlos, I shall end the stream. Not the Minecraft. I will end the stream. You know what? He was a good boy. Yes, he was. Yes, I am sure.